want you to imagine this. I'm 14 years old and I'm in the school canteen eating together with my friends and having fun. And then suddenly she comes in. This is the girl that I had a crush on for at least a few months now at this point, but she was from the other class. My friends, obviously they knew about this. They would literally start teasing me and making fun of me and stuff like that, Things we actually do as boys. They were asking me to kind of approach her because I actually kind of knew her. We were actually hi-bye friends and we actually knew each other, but we've never really spoken before. My friends kept on pressuring me to approach her and to get to know her more and to, make some progress. And because at this time, I was really a chubby, shy, reserved kind of guy that would always get made fun of his friends in class. You know how in every high school class, there's always this one unattractive and chubby guy, but he's kind of funny, so everybody kind of knows him and laughs at him. Yeah, I was basically that guy. And not only that, I was super introverted and I really wouldn't dare to speak to people outside my close group of friends. And yes, it was stuck in my identity, right? I always identified myself as the shy and chubby kid in the class. And this identity and beliefs continued throughout the most of my high school. But then I had this mindset shift which I made, which helped me overcome my insecurities and generally a lack of self-esteem I had in myself. And this mindset shift over time, it actually helped me to skyrocket my confidence and made me carry myself in a way that lets me become magnetic to people. Nowadays, I don't even consider myself introverted anymore, and I can basically speak to anyone who I want to and have no problems and to get along well with it. But how did I get over this low self-confidence and insecurities I had about myself? By the way, if you haven't watched my videos before, my name is Shan. It's my mission to inspire as many young guys such as me as possible develop into strong and masculine versions of themselves. I make videos like this to document and to share my experiences to help you, and if it sounds awesome to you, make sure to click the subscribe button below. You know how you hear all these self-improvement gurus online, you see? They tell you to be confident, just be confident in yourself. It's really bullshit, bro. How many times have you heard that advice and it really hasn't worked for you? Probably zero, right? Here's the thing, I used to listen to that advice all the time. You know how my friends, my teachers, my parents were just telling me to be confident. Just be confident. Don't be so insecure. Don't worry about what other people think about you. And that never worked. It sounds good in the moment, but it just doesn't work well. Here's the thing, as humans, we are social beings. The past times of our ancestors, we will live in tribes. We will live in groups. We were hunter-gatherers. And if we didn't care about what others thought about us, we would just do whatever we wanted, right? And in the event that what we wanted to do was what other people in our tribe hated, do you think we will get banished by the tribe? Probably. Right? What do you think happens once we get banished from the tribe? We die. Imagine living in a jungle alone, having to fend for yourself against all these wild animals and to actually find food, find water, and to survive. Basically impossible. That is why, as humans today, we are not that much different from our ancestors, except that we have better technology. Our brains literally have outdated hardware for tens of thousands of years ago. And you're telling me I should not care about what others think? That I should just be confident and be myself? How does that work? We are literally hardwired to crave validation and to care about what others think of us so we can be accepted. We can feel socially accepted in the tribe. Now, am I saying that we should always seek validation? Of course not, right? There's a difference. Because in the past, let's say our tribe had 50 to 100 members. Now, we have what? We have internet. And the internet literally connects 7 billion people in this earth? Of course, no way you're able to get a validation of 7 billion people, right? At some point, you're going to get disagreements. So I'm not saying that you go and seek validation from everyone. But what I'm saying instead is that you have to be aware that your tendency to want to care about what others think about you is natural. It's also not something you can fake or ignore at all. So now you might be asking, Sean, if I can't stop caring about what other people think about me, if I can't fake confidence, what do? I still feel like shit. Just an analogy I think that will help you understand it really easily to actually help you build confidence. Confidence is really just like a muscle, right? Imagine you have the biceps here. Let me show you biceps, right? Imagine you have the bicep here. Do you think that I was born with biceps like this? Or do you think I trained to get biceps like this? The same applies to confidence. Confidence is like a muscle that you train, but instead it's a skill. Each time you practice confidence, you become more confident, and eventually it becomes ingrained into your identity. And yeah, you just become naturally confident. That's how it works. It's not just something you can be without any training. No way, let's say I wanted you to take your arm out like this right now and flex, right? Flex hard, as hard as you can. Do you think that you'll be able to get a big bicep just by flexing? Of course not, right? No matter how hard you try to visualize and will for the bicep to get bigger, there's no way it's going to get bigger unless you train it. The same applies to confidence, right? The more you train, the more confident you eventually become. But then, how do you actually train your confidence? Here's the most important thing. Always keep the promises that you make to yourself. I remember this one time 2 years back where I first actually started to know about self-improvement and stuff like that. I started, practicing good habits such as like reading, taking cold showers, waking up early, and, just working on myself and going to the gym. I remember there was this one period of like probably 2 to 3 weeks where I felt extremely down. I lost all sort of momentum I had in my self-improvement, and I was no longer doing any of the good habits, and I was like basically doing all the bad habits. I stopped. I started playing a bit of video games. I started using social media a bit more, and after I recovered from that pitfall, I actually journaled to see what was the issue I was facing. Why did I actually make that mistake of falling back into my bad habits and stop doing my good ones? Because all started from what? Because I set myself the alarm to wake up at like 7, and when the alarm went off, I woke up at 7:30 instead. I know 30 minutes doesn't sound that much of a difference, and 7:30 for many people is still early anyway. But here's the thing, I broke the promises I made to myself that made me super unconfident and become more insecure of myself because I knew I couldn't keep my word, right? Just because of that incident, it became tough for me to become outwardly confident to other people. I didn't even trust myself. How could I allow others to trust me? It didn't work that way, right? Always keep the promises you make to yourself. That is the most important thing if you want to train your confidence. Of course, beyond that, you should start to improve your looks by going to the gym, changing your body shape, having a skincare routine, stuff like that. Guys, I know. Maybe you think having a skincare routine is gay and shit, bro. Do you think those celebrities or those influencers that the girls that you want are lusting over, do you think they don't have any skincare routine? Do you honestly think that they wake up not caring about their hair, not caring about their skin, not caring about their hygiene and stuff like that, and they naturally look this good looking? Bro, you can't afford to be delusional as a man, alright? This was also the mistake I made when I was younger. You know how my parents were always telling me to be confident in myself, just be myself. Everybody tells you just to be yourself, and I was myself. Right? I was a chubby, fat, shy kid who didn't really care much about himself or his diet. No matter how much I tried to look at the mirror and tell myself that I wanted to become a confident individual, do you think I ever succeeded in becoming so? No, of course not. Whenever I look in the mirror, all I see is a piece of shit, right? I see an unattractive young guy who didn't care about himself, who doesn't sleep well, who eats junk food, who plays games all day, and having acne all over his face. Do you think I'd ever be able to become confident if I look like that way? Of course not. I had to improve my looks first. I had to start going to the gym and start actually building a nice and aesthetic looking physique for me to actually start building confidence, for me to actually walk confidently. I had good posture, and for me to actually change my self-belief and my identity. Whenever I look in the mirror, I see a disciplined and good looking young guy. I know that I can be confident in myself and to trust myself. And that is how I actually build confidence. No amount of self-affirmations will ever help you if you don't even believe in yourself. And moving on the previous point, that you have to actually change your identity. Remember how I said I used to identify as that fat and chubby kid in the class? If I was literally telling myself I was that fat, awkward, chubby, shy kid in the class, do you think I'd ever be confident even if I became a super handsome, good looking and muscular guy? Of course not, because deep inside you still believe yourself to be that kind of person. So no matter how well you look externally, your internal self is still the same, and that is what you need to change. Here's an action step I want you to do. I want you to think, what are the limiting beliefs that you have on yourself that were probably implanted into you from your childhood, which affects the way that you do things today and shape your self-identity? Let me share you mine, alright? I always used to think of myself as an introverted and emotional person because I was told so by my peers, by my parents. And you know how when we were younger, we used to like to read horoscope and stuff like that? Yeah, I was into that. And I read that I was supposed to be an emotional and sensitive person. And I believed that. And guess what I became? I became an emotional and sensitive person, of course. But then, once I started shifting my identity, I identified myself as a more of a logical, rational, and tolerant person. I became that person. Although, my friends told me I was emotional. My parents tell me sensitive. And the horoscope tell me I should be this way. Of course not. That doesn't work that way. It's the self-beliefs that you have about yourself which ultimately changes who you become. You also need to practice getting yourself out of your comfort zone. Put yourself in situations you will feel uncomfortable in. Maybe you feel uncomfortable going to the gym. Just go anyway. right? You need to push past that discomfort. Or maybe you feel like wanting to become a content creator and you want to start taking content about yourself, and you feel that other people are gonna judge you for putting the camera everywhere and filming yourself. Do it anyway. You know what the best thing about doing this is? It actually changes your beliefs about yourself. You understand that you are able to face discomfort and not care about it, which ultimately leads you to become more confident about yourself. And actually, ironically, it helps you not care about what others think. You're not afraid of being judged. You see how I say that being afraid of being judged is natural? Yes, it's natural. But once you have actually practiced pushing past that to get what you actually want, you actually become that person who is not being afraid of being judged, because you're fine with it anyway, because you actually practice it, you take action, and that is how it actually works, rather than sitting around and praying that nobody judges you and stuff like that. No, that doesn't work. Rather, put it into action, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, and you will be fine. You will become more resilient. But here's what I want you to understand: this doesn't happen automatically. Remember the bicep analogy just now I gave you? If I ask you to go to the gym now and do like 10 sets of bicep curls, or 20 sets, or even 100 sets of bicep curls, if you have never trained before in your life, do you think that your bicep is going to become automatically big overnight the next day? Of course not, right? You just get sore muscles anyway. The same applies to this. You train it consistently for a long enough period of time, and you eventually become that confident person. You no longer are insecure. It's like a gradual improvement. Don't just expect to immediately become charismatic overnight. It doesn't work that way. Let's say today you work on one of the points, which was to actually keep the promises to make to yourself. Maybe you promise yourself to go to the gym and do this push workout today. Yeah, promise yourself and go do it. You've gained one experience point there. Tomorrow, you also promise yourself to go for a run. Instead of just running, you also give yourself another promise. Hey, maybe today I'll wake up at 7 instead of 8. Yeah, wake up at 7 and you have gotten 2 experience points. You build up the experience points, and once you get to a certain level, congrats, you just become confident. It comes to you naturally. You no longer have to suffer and feel unconfident or insecure about yourself anymore. Plus, I want you to understand that confidence doesn't mean that you never feel anxious, uncomfortable when you face like unfamiliar people or unfamiliar situations. Rather, it's about that you decide, although you face this anxiousness sometimes or this uncomfortableness sometimes, you just decide to do it anyway, because it doesn't affect you. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean that you should react that way. For example, let's say you decide to approach that girl you like. Even though you are a confident individual, doesn't mean that you never feel anxious or discomfortable, but you decide to still go do it anyway. That's what confidence actually is. No matter how confident you become, you always still feel the same emotions. It's just that you decide to do the actions anyway. Yeah, that's it for today's video. And remember, I'm rooting for you, and I'll see you in the next one.